Can countries be sued for climate change? In recent years, there have been several high-profile lawsuits filed against countries for their contributions to climate change. One example is the case of Urgenda Foundation versus the State of the Netherlands, in which a Dutch court found that the government of the Netherlands had a legal duty to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in order to protect its citizens from the impacts of climate change. The court ordered the government to reduce its emissions by at least 25% by the end of 2020 compared to 1990 levels. Another example is the case of Juliana v. United States, in which a group of young people sued the US government for failing to take action on climate change and violating their constitutional rights to life, liberty, and property. While the case was ultimately dismissed by the US Supreme Court on procedural grounds, it helped to raise public awareness of the issue and put pressure on the government to take action on climate change. So, from a broader perspective, yes, countries can be sued for climate change under international law. The United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, is a legal agreement signed by countries around the world to address climate change. It explains that under the UNFCCC, countries have agreed to take measures to prevent dangerous levels of human interference with the climate system. The Paris Agreement, which builds upon the UNFCCC, establishes a framework for countries to make national contributions to limit global temperature increases. If a country fails to fulfill its obligations under these agreements, it can potentially be held accountable through legal mechanisms. However, bringing a lawsuit against a country for climate change can be challenging due to the complex nature of the issue. This is due to the difficulty in establishing a direct causal link between a country's actions and specific climate impacts. Additionally, the legal frameworks for addressing climate change are still evolving. There is currently no international court or tribunal dedicated specifically to climate change cases. Despite these challenges, there is growing recognition of the need for legal mechanisms to hold countries accountable for their actions on climate change. As the impacts of climate change become more severe and widespread, it is likely that we will see more lawsuits filed against countries in the coming years.